She smiled every day at recess, even when she had nothing to eat. A billionaire noticed the smile that never moved. What he discovered inside her backpack changed how he saw hunger, kindness, and power forever. This isn't a rescue story. It's a story about staying. The smile was the first thing that felt wrong. It was too steady, too careful. Placed perfectly on a small face that should have been loud with laughter, messy with joy, careless in the way only children can be. The schoolyard of Bayshore Ridge Elementary was alive. Shoes scraped against concrete. Children shouted, traded snacks, argued over games that would be forgotten by afternoon. Juice boxes were tilted back. Sandwiches were unwrapped. Crumbs fell without consequence. And then there was Sophia. She sat alone near the chain-link fence at the far edge of the playground, knees tucked in hands folded neatly on top of a faded blue backpack. She wasn't playing. She wasn't eating. She wasn't watching anyone in particular. She was smiling. Not at a joke. Not at a friend. Just smiling. As if smiling itself were the task she had been given. Rowan Vale noticed her by accident. He hadn't come to the school to notice children. He had come for 30 minutes precisely scheduled, a donation check, a handshake with the principal, a short speech about opportunity and responsibility, a few photos, then out. That was the system. Clean, efficient, safe. His phone vibrated in his pocket. 11:17 a.m. recess. The principal was talking about outdated computers and cracked pavement, but Rowan's attention had slipped away, caught on that single unmoving figure by the fence. Everyone else had food. Sophia didn't. He stopped walking. "Who is that?" Rowan asked quietly, surprising himself with the sharpness in his own voice. The principal followed his gaze. A brief hesitation crossed her face. "That's Sophia," she said. "She's very quiet. Nothing more. No concern. No explanation. Just a label." Without waiting for permission, Rowan Vale turned away from the principal and walked toward the fence. As he approached, Sophia noticed him immediately. Her smile widened just a fraction the way a child's does when an adult gets too close. Polite. Alert. Ready. She didn't stand. She didn't move away. She simply watched him. Rowan crouched so they were at eye level, the knees of his tailored trousers pressed against the cold concrete. "Hi," he said gently. "Hi," Sophia replied at once. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "Why aren't you eating?" Rowan asked. The question hovered between them. For a moment, just a moment, her smile cracked. Then it returned brighter than before. "I already ate," Sophia said quickly. The answer slid out smooth and practiced like a line she had said many times before. Rowan glanced at the ground around her. No crumbs, no wrappers, no juice box, nothing. He didn't challenge her. He didn't smile back. "Then why are you holding your backpack?" he asked, keeping his voice soft. Sophia's fingers tightened around the worn straps. "I like holding it," she said. Another perfect answer. Reasonable. Unquestionable. Rowan felt something shift in his chest. This wasn't shyness. This was strategy. "Can I see what's inside?" he asked. Sophia hesitated. Her eyes flicked toward the teachers, the building, the adults who were watching, but not really seeing. Then back to him. Her smile faded completely. "You won't tell?" she asked in a quiet voice. "Tell who?" Rowan replied. She didn't answer. The silence said everything. "I won't," Rowan said. And he meant it. Slowly, carefully, Sophia reached for the zipper. The backpack opened with a soft sound. Rowan leaned closer. There were no books inside, no lunchbox, no forgotten homework. Nothing. Just empty space. At the very bottom lay a single folded napkin placed there with deliberate care. Sophia lifted it out with both hands, as if it might tear, and unfolded it slowly. Drawn in pencil was a lunch. Not a childish scribble, not a rushed sketch. It was careful, detailed. 2 slices of bread shaded neatly, a layer of lettuce peeking out, a square meant to be cheese. Beside it, a small juice box with a straw drawn at an angle. In one corner, written in uneven letters, were the words, "It's okay." Rowan forgot how to breathe. The noise of the playground fell away. Deals he had negotiated, companies he had built, crises he had survived. None of them prepared him for this. A single napkin, a pretend lunch, a rule written in pencil. A tear slipped down his face before he could stop it. Sophia misread his silence. "I draw it," she said softly, almost apologetic, "so it feels like I have one." Rowan turned his head away, ashamed of his reaction, ashamed that a child had learned to make emptiness feel acceptable. "Are you sad?" Sophia asked, concern entering her voice. "No," Rowan said quickly, wiping his cheek. "Just allergies." She nodded, accepting the explanation without question. Adults always had reasons. "Why sit here?" Rowan asked after a moment. "Why not with the others?" Sophia shrugged, a small adult gesture that didn't belong on such a young body. "If I sit with them," she said, "they ask questions." And then Rowan asked. Sophia folded the napkin again carefully. "And then people notice." She placed it back inside the backpack. The zipper closed. The smile returned. Armor back in place. The bell rang sharp and sudden, slicing through the quiet between them. Children groaned and laughed at the same time, rising from the ground in a rush of movement. Sophia flinched at the sound, then smoothed her face as if nothing had happened. She folded the napkin with the same care she had shown before, placed it back into the backpack, and zipped it shut. "I should go," she said, standing quickly. "They don't like it when you're late." Rowan stood as well, slower, his legs stiff. "Sophia," he said, stopping himself just short of reaching out. "Does anyone know?" She paused. Her eyes flicked toward the building, then the teachers, then back to him. "My aunt gets tired," she said. That was all. The answer felt small, but it landed with weight. It wasn't denial. It wasn't blame. It was simply a fact spoken the way children speak facts they don't expect adults to fix. "Please," Sophia added quietly, "don't talk to the office." Rowan nodded. "Okay." She studied his face as if checking whether the word meant the same thing to him as it did to her. Then she turned and joined the line of children disappearing into the noise. Rowan remained by the fence long after the yard emptied. The principal called his name from across the playground, her professional smile carefully intact. Cameras waited inside. A speech needed giving, but Rowan stared at the place where Sophia had sat. At the absence she had learned to make invisible. "How many kids here don't eat?" he asked the principal quietly as they walked. She blinked. "Excuse me." "How many," he repeated, "are smiling so no one notices they're hungry?" The principal didn't answer right away. In that pause, Rowan understood something he hadn't expected. Hunger didn't announce itself. It followed rules. That night, sleep refused to come. Not because of guilt alone, but because of the discipline behind Sophia's drawing. She hadn't been improvising. She had been surviving. By morning, Rowan had canceled 3 meetings. His assistant didn't argue. She could hear the change in his voice. Rowan returned to Bayshore Ridge Elementary without cameras, without announcements, without anyone escorting him like a donation plaque on legs. He parked 2 blocks away and walked. Recess again. He didn't approach Sophia right away. Instead, he watched. Children poured into the yard like spilled color, bright, loud, careless. Food appeared everywhere. Crackers traded hands, cookies unwrapped, juice boxes punctured with straws. Hunger for most of them was temporary. Then he saw her. Same fence, same posture, same folded hands. But today, Sophia wasn't drawing. She sat still, eyes lowered, as if waiting for something invisible to pass. A boy ran by with a sandwich too big for his hands. He laughed, mayo smeared across his cheek. Sophia flinched just slightly, then reset her face to calm. Rowan approached slowly. "Hi," he said. Sophia looked up, startled. Recognition softened her eyes. "You came back," she said. "I did." She glanced around instinctively. "You're not supposed to." "I know," Rowan replied. That seemed to satisfy her. Adults broke rules all the time. He sat beside her, keeping a careful distance. "I brought something," he said. From a simple brown paper bag he pulled out a sandwich, peanut butter and jelly, an apple, a small carton of milk. Sophia didn't reach for it. She stared at the food like it might disappear if she acknowledged it. "This is for you," Rowan said gently. Her lips parted, then closed. She shook her head. "I can't." "Why not?" "If I eat here," she said, "people will see." "See what? That I didn't have anything." There it was. Rule 1. Don't be visible. "I can sit with you," Rowan offered. "Then it just looks like we're talking." Sophia considered this carefully, eyes scanning the yard like a strategist weighing risk. Finally, she nodded. Rowan placed the bag between them and waited. Sophia didn't open it. "Is something wrong with the food?" he asked softly. "No," she said quickly. "It's just, there are rules." "What kind of rules?" She picked at a loose thread on her sleeve, her voice dropping. "If you eat too fast, it means you were really hungry. If you eat too slow, people ask why. You have to eat normal." Rowan felt something tighten painfully in his chest. "Who taught you that?" he asked. Sophia shrugged. "You just learn." After a moment, Rowan said, "Do you want to open it together?" She hesitated, then carefully unwrapped the sandwich. She took one small bite, chewed slowly, swallowed. Then she stopped. "Is it not good?" Rowan asked. "It's good," she said immediately. "Then why stop?" She folded the wrapper halfway back over the sandwich. "I have to save some for later." "For later," Rowan repeated. "For my brother," she said, her voice softening. "Eli. How old is he? 6? Does he eat at school?" "No," Sophia said. "He stays with our aunt." "And does he eat then?" Sophia thought for a moment. "Sometimes cereal, sometimes he waits." Silence settled between them. "You know," Rowan said carefully, "it's okay to eat the whole thing." Sophia looked at him as if he had suggested something dangerous. "What if there isn't more tomorrow?" she asked. The logic was flawless. Rowan didn't lie. Instead, he reached into the bag and pulled out another sandwich. Identical. Then another apple. Another milk. Sophia's eyes widened, fear first, then disbelief. "These are for you," Rowan said. "And Eli." "Are you sure?" she whispered. "Yes." She studied his face the way she had before, searching for cracks. Finally, she nodded, not trusting completely, but not refusing either. She took another careful bite. Not faster, just a little less afraid. Rowan didn't mean to become familiar. He didn't announce himself. He didn't linger too long. He didn't bring food every time. Sometimes he only sat. Sometimes he only waved. Sometimes he simply stood near the fence and let Sophia decide whether to come closer. That was the rule he gave himself. Choice. But familiarity has a way of making itself visible no matter how carefully it moves. On the third day, a teacher paused mid-sentence when she noticed Rowan kneeling beside Sophia. Her smile didn't disappear, it tightened. A staff member nearby glanced twice, then whispered something to another adult. Sophia noticed before Rowan did. She shifted her backpack closer to her chest, her shoulders drawing inward. "They're looking," she murmured. "It's okay," Rowan said gently. "We're just talking." Sophia nodded, but she didn't relax. By the 5th day, she stopped sitting by the fence. Instead, she stood near her class at recess, eyes flicking toward Rowan once before dropping to the ground. She didn't smile. She didn't wave. When the bell rang, she didn't look back. Rowan felt the distance like a quiet correction. That afternoon, the principal asked him to stop by her office. The room smelled faintly of paper and disinfectant. Certificates lined the walls like shields. The principal folded her hands, careful and polite. "There have been concerns," she began. About what Rowan asked calmly. Boundaries, she said. The word landed heavy. Parents have noticed you spending time with one student. Other children are asking questions. Because they're curious, Rowan asked. Because they're confused, she replied. And some are upset. Why, Rowan asked? Because one child isn't pretending anymore. Her jaw tightened slightly. You're creating imbalance. Imbalance already exists, Rowan said quietly. She sighed. Good intentions don't erase consequences. When help stops, expectations don't. I'm not planning to stop, Rowan said. She looked at him steadily. Everyone says that. The shift happened quickly. A headline appeared on Rowan's tablet before breakfast. Tech CEO's school visits raise questions about priorities. His phone buzzed. Messages from his board. Emails marked urgent. Words repeated themselves. Optics. Distraction. Risk. One board member didn't soften it at all. You're associating yourself with poverty narratives, he said flatly over the call. That doesn't align with growth strategy. They're children, Rowan replied. They're liabilities, the voice countered. At school, the air felt different. Sophia avoided him entirely. When Rowan stepped closer, she stepped back instinctively. You shouldn't be here, she whispered urgently. Why, Rowan asked. They're talking, she said. Everyone. Her fingers twisted together. They asked me questions. What kind of questions? Rowan asked carefully. Why you? If my mom knows. If I asked you. Fear flickered behind her eyes, not of hunger, but of attention. I'm sorry, Rowan said quietly. She shook her head. Don't be. Then softer, just don't come over anymore. The words hurt more than any boardroom accusation. Did someone tell you that? Rowan asked. Sophia hesitated, then nodded. The teacher said helpers don't always stay, she whispered. And when they leave, things get worse. Rowan swallowed hard. Is that what you think? Sophia looked at him, really looked. I don't know yet, she said. That night, Rowan sat alone in his penthouse, city lights blinking like distant stars. The food on his table went untouched. Kindness, he realized, didn't just help. It disrupted. And disruption always came with a cost. The next morning, Rowan returned to Bayshore Ridge Elementary anyway. This time he brought nothing. No bag, no food, no gifts. He stood near the fence with his hands in his pockets and waited. Sophia noticed him from across the yard. She frowned. You're not supposed to, she said when she finally approached. I know, Rowan replied. She looked at his empty hands. You didn't bring anything. Number. Why? Because I don't want you to think I'm only here when I have something to give. That made her pause. After a moment, she sat beside him, not too close. They said you might stop, she said quietly. I won't, Rowan answered. But it might get harder before it gets better. Harder, how? Sophia asked. He chose his words carefully. People don't like it when problems become visible, he said. They push back. Sophia nodded slowly. That happens. A silence stretched between them. Does that mean you're in trouble? She asked. Maybe, Rowan admitted. She frowned. Then why keep doing it? Rowan looked at her and spoke the truth without decoration, because pretending not to see costs more. Sophia absorbed that eyes distant. My mom says help always comes with strings, she said. Sometimes it does, Rowan replied, but staying is a choice. The bell rang. Sophia stood adjusting her backpack. You don't have to come every day, she said. Then after a beat, just don't forget. Rowan watched her join the line, the space beside the fence empty again, but different now. Rules echoed in his mind. Don't be visible. Don't reveal need. Don't trust promises. He understood then. Hunger wasn't just empty stomachs. It was behavior. And breaking those rules would take more than food. It would take someone willing to stay. The call came that afternoon. Not from the press, not from the board, from the school. Mr. Vale, the principal said, her voice careful, measured. We need to talk. Her office felt smaller than before. The same certificates lined the walls, but now they looked less like achievements and more like rules written in frames. She didn't offer him a seat at first. There have been formal concerns, she began, about outside involvement. Rowan nodded once. I assumed there would be. She folded her hands. You've developed a pattern of interaction with a minor outside approved channels. I talked to her, Rowan said calmly. In public, at recess, with adults present. That's not the issue, the principal replied. Perception is. Perception of what? Attachment, dependence, favoritism. Rowan leaned back slightly. Or visibility. She hesitated, then continued. We have to think about the environment. When one child receives attention, others notice. When help starts, expectations grow. And when help never starts. Rowan asked. She looked at him steadily. That's not a decision I get to make alone. The counselor, Ms. Ortega, spoke for the first time. We're obligated to review situations that could be misunderstood, especially when they involve powerful adults. Rowan understood the subtext immediately. Power, complicated kindness. We're not asking you to stop caring, the principal said gently. We're asking you to step back. Rowan held her gaze. If stepping back means pretending I didn't see her, I can't do that. Silence filled the room. Finally, the principal sighed. Then we need to follow protocol. Rowan nodded. That's fair. As he stood to leave, she added quietly, just be careful. Children remember who stays. 2 mornings later, Rowan arrived at the school early. The sky was pale gray, undecided. The playground stood empty, quiet, in a way that felt fragile. He didn't make it past the front doors. A clipboard stopped him. I'm sorry, the principal said, stepping forward. You can't be here today. Rowan's chest tightened. Is Sophia okay? She's in class, the principal replied quickly. Physically. That single word answered questions she hadn't asked. Inside the office sat the counselor, back straight, hands folded. Near the window stood a woman Rowan hadn't met before, professional posture, neutral expression. This is Ms. Dana Rios, the principal said. From Family Services. Dana nodded politely. We received a report. From whom? Rowan asked. That's confidential, she replied evenly. What's the concern? Rowan asked. External influence, Dana said. Unstructured support. Emotional reliance. That's me, Rowan said quietly. Dana finally looked at him directly. You've formed a relationship with a minor outside approved roles. I never claimed to be anything else, Rowan replied. Intentions don't override process, she said. The counselor added gently, We're conducting a routine welfare review. At the home, when Rowan asked. Today. I'm coming, Rowan said. Dana shook her head. No, you're not family. You're not staff. You're not part of this process. For the first time in years, Rowan had no leverage, no meeting to call, no check to write, no door to open. By noon, he sat in his car 2 blocks from Sophia's apartment building, hands gripping the steering wheel, watching the front door like a man waiting for a verdict. He didn't go in. He waited. That was all he was allowed to do. The call didn't come from the school. It came from Sophia. Her voice was quiet, smaller than usual. They came, she said. They asked questions. Are you okay? Rowan asked immediately. I think so, she replied. And your mom? She's resting, Sophia said quickly. Too quickly. Then after a pause, she didn't wake up this morning. Rowan's heart dropped. Is she sick? Just tired, Sophia said. The words were practiced, protective. They asked about you, she continued. I said you didn't give me anything I asked for. Rowan closed his eyes. What did you say instead? Only what I needed, Sophia said. The call ended shortly after. That evening, Rowan learned the truth through a channel he hadn't wanted to use. Sophia's mother, Marisol, had been unwell for weeks. Exhaustion, missed work, a body stretched too thin by responsibility. The system had notes, dates, checklists. It had waited. Not until a billionaire noticed. Until silence became visible. The next day, Sophia wasn't at school, nor the day after. On the third day, Rowan saw her sitting on the apartment steps, backpack beside her knees tucked close. He approached, slowly stopping a few steps away. "You weren't at recess," he said gently. She shrugged. "I'm not supposed to go for a bit." "Why, they said it might be easier." "For who?" Rowan asked softly. Sophia didn't answer. That was when Rowan understood the hardest truth of all. Power could expose a problem, but it couldn't sit through the night. It couldn't wait for a fever to pass. It couldn't replace presence. He crouched down, keeping distance. "I'm here," he said, "if that matters." Sophia looked at him for a long time. Then she nodded. "It does." Rowan did not come with answers. He came with space. Sophia sat on the apartment steps, her backpack resting beside her like it always did. Her knees drawn in her shoes, perfectly aligned on the concrete. She wasn't crying. She wasn't smiling either. She was waiting the way children wait when they have learned that reacting too much makes things harder. Rowan stopped a few steps away. He didn't sit beside her. He didn't ask permission. He simply made himself smaller. "Is your mom sleeping?" he asked gently. Sophia nodded. "She's been sleeping a lot." "Does she wake up to eat?" Rowan asked. Sophia hesitated. "Sometimes." That answer held more truth than detail, and Rowan didn't push. They sat in the quiet of the afternoon. A bus passed. Someone upstairs laughed at a television show. Life went on in pieces. After a long moment, Sophia spoke again. "They asked a lot of questions," she said. "The lady with the folder. She wrote things down even when I didn't finish my sentences." "That can feel strange," Rowan said. Sophia nodded. "I tried to say the right things." "There aren't right things," Rowan said softly. "Just honest ones." She looked at him, then studying his face the way she always did, as if honesty were something you could see if you looked long enough. "They asked if I was scared," she said. I said no. "And were you?" Sophia thought about it. "Not scared," she said finally. "Just careful." Rowan understood. Careful meant keeping the peace. Careful meant not making trouble. Careful meant protecting the people you loved by carrying what they couldn't. "Do you want to tell me what it's been like?" Rowan asked. Sophia shook her head. "Not right now." "That's okay," he said. "You don't owe me stories." She exhaled, shoulders lowering just a little. After a while, the apartment door opened. Marisol stood there, pale but steady, wrapped in a sweater that looked a size too big. Her eyes went straight to Sophia. "There you are," she said, relief slipping through before she caught it. "I was worried." "I was right here," Sophia replied. Marisol's gaze shifted to Rowan. Recognition flickered, followed by caution. "You must be Mr. Vale," she said. "I'm Rowan," he replied. "And I won't stay long." Marisol nodded once. "Thank you." Not gratitude. Permission. And for the first time, Rowan felt the weight of trust begin to move. Marisol didn't invite Rowan inside. Instead, she sat on the step above Sophia, keeping a careful distance that said everything about boundaries and dignity. "I know why you're here," Marisol said quietly. "And I know what people think." Rowan shook his head. "I'm not here to fix anything." She almost smiled at that. "Almost. That's usually how it starts," she said. "People see something wrong and want to fix it fast." "I saw something quiet," Rowan replied, "and I didn't want it to stay invisible." Marisol studied him. Her eyes were tired but sharp. "My kids aren't broken," she said. "I know," Rowan said. "They're resourceful. That's what scared me." Sophia listened without interrupting, her fingers tracing the edge of her backpack. "I work nights," Marisol continued. "I do what I can. I don't tell them everything. Kids shouldn't have to carry adult fear. Sophia's head dipped slightly at that. The school called this morning, Marisol said. They were professional, careful. They said words like support and process. Rowan nodded. They're doing their job. So are you? Marisol asked. Rowan paused. I'm trying to learn what my job isn't. Silence settled between them, not tense, just honest. I won't take help that turns my children into a story, Marisol said finally. I won't let anyone make them feel smaller to feel generous. I wouldn't ask you to, Rowan replied. And I won't single Sophia out. That got Marisol's attention. What do you mean? Rowan took a breath. What I did at first was personal. It helped, but it also put her in the spotlight. That wasn't fair. Sophia looked up sharply. You're not in trouble, Rowan said to her immediately. She searched his face, then relaxed slightly. I want to shift how help looks, Rowan continued. From one person to a place? A place, Marisol asked. A space that's open, Rowan said. No names, no conditions, no questions first. Marisol considered this. That sounds expensive, she said. Rowan smiled faintly. Not the way people think. Sophia spoke then quietly. Like somewhere you don't have to pretend, Rowan nodded. Exactly like that. Marisol closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them. If you do this, she said, do it right. Quietly. And don't disappear. I won't, Rowan said. He meant it. The idea didn't arrive with a plan, it arrived with a memory. Rowan remembered the napkin, the drawn lunch, the words, it's okay, written like a rule and a promise at the same time. He met with the principal again, then the counselor. This time he listened more than he spoke. What if he asked there was a place after school where food was available without labels? No sign-ups, Miss Ortega asked. No, Rowan said. No announcements, the principal added. No, he repeated. And no branding, she said carefully. Rowan nodded. None. They talked logistics, safety, volunteers, hours, procedures that protected children without turning care into a spectacle. It took longer than he expected. It always did when things were done properly. The room they chose had once been a multi-purpose space forgotten behind folding chairs and old boxes. Maintenance cleared it without ceremony. A single wooden table arrived, first scratched, sturdy, unremarkable. 10 chairs followed, then more. No ribbon, no speech. On the first evening, only 3 people came. Sophia was one of them. She hovered at the doorway, unsure. Rowan stood a few steps back, not claiming the space. In the center of the table sat a bowl of soup and a basket of bread. Real food. Warm. Waiting. Sophia took the seat closest to the wall, out of habit. She stared at the bowl for a long moment. It's not going anywhere, Rowan said gently. That sentence felt different here. Sophia picked up the spoon. Around her, others arrived slowly. A custodian with a mug, a teacher without authority, a neighbor with a tired child. No one asked questions. No one explained themselves. They ate. Sophia relaxed in increments so small they were almost invisible. Her shoulders lowered, her grip on the backpack loosened. Later, she opened her notebook and drew. This time it wasn't a sandwich. It was a table. Long, steady, full. She slid the drawing toward Rowan without looking up. This one's not pretend, she said. Rowan looked at it and felt something settle inside him. It wasn't a solution. It was a commitment. And it stayed. The table did not announce itself. It simply existed. That Rowan would learn was what made it dangerous. By the end of the first week, more chairs were needed. Not because of a plan, but because people kept pulling them closer. The room filled in a cautious rhythm, arrivals spaced out, departures unhurried. Soup changed flavors. Bread changed shapes. The table did not change. Sophia changed slowly. She no longer waited by the door. She no longer chose the seat closest to the wall, unless it was already taken. She spoke when spoken to, then sometimes when she wasn't. Her notebook opened again, not to hide hunger, but to draw while waiting. Rowan noticed all of it and pretended he didn't. He had learned that attention could bruise as easily as it could help. The pushback came quietly. A meeting request arrived from the board marked urgent, another from legal marked sensitive, a third from communications marked alignment. In the glass-walled conference room, faces were calm and voices were careful. This initiative, the board chair said, steepling his fingers, is not sanctioned. It's compliant, Rowan replied. Reviewed, approved, quiet. It's visible, another member said. And visibility has consequences. For whom, Rowan asked. For you, the chair said. For us. They spoke of brand dilution, of narrative drift, of setting precedent, of donors asking why a tech company was feeding soup. Rowan listened, then answered with a truth that surprised even him. Because the problem existed before I arrived, he said, and it will exist after I leave. The only question is whether we keep pretending it's not there. Silence followed. You can't keep doing this, someone said. It's not scalable. Rowan nodded. It's not supposed to be. That evening at the table, Sophia sensed the shift. You're quieter, she said, arranging her bread just so. Rowan smiled. Just thinking. About stopping, she asked, not looking up. The question was casual. The fear beneath it was not. No, Rowan said. About staying wisely. She considered that. That's different. Yes, he agreed. It is. Across the room, Marisol arrived late, her coat no longer hanging quite as loose. She exchanged a look with Rowan, no words, just recognition. The table held, and outside the room pressure gathered. The notice went out on a Tuesday. No accusations. No names. Just language. A review of outside involvement. An evaluation of ongoing programs. A temporary pause for assessment. Sophia read it upside down on the bulletin board, lips moving silently. Does this mean the table goes away? She asked Rowan that evening. Rowan didn't answer right away. He had learned not to fill quiet with promises. It means people are nervous, he said carefully. When something works quietly, it makes noise where systems don't like it. Sophia nodded. That happens. What happens next? She asked. We keep showing up, Rowan said. The same way. Same time. And if they stop it, she asked. Then we'll find another way that follows the rules, he said, and keeps the point. She studied his face, searching for cracks. Finding none, she relaxed just a little. The review meetings were thorough. Safety checklists, volunteer logs, sign-in sheets, emergency contacts, every question answered, every boundary respected. No one could point to harm. They could only point to discomfort. On the third day, a teacher joined the table and stayed after her bowl was empty. On the fourth, a custodian brought oranges. On the fifth, a neighbor offered to wash pots. The table began to belong to the room, not to Rowan. That was the moment Sophia changed seats. She moved from the side to the middle without ceremony, spreading her drawings where anyone could see. Can I show you this? She asked a younger child. The child nodded. Rowan watched and felt the quiet ache of relief. That night, his phone buzzed again. The board's final message was brief. Choose. Choose optics or choose presence. Rowan looked at the message, then turned the phone face down. At the table, Sophia was explaining a drawing. This is where everyone sits, she said. There's no head. Why not? The child asked. Because nobody's in charge of eating, Sophia replied. You just do. Rowan felt the answer land. He stood, cleared plates, wiped the table carefully. Ordinary motions. Necessary ones. When the room emptied, he stayed. He always did. The decision did not arrive with applause. It arrived with silence. The review concluded. The pause lifted. Conditions were added, reasonable ones. Hours, supervision, documentation that protected children without turning care into theater. The table stayed. Rowan stepped back further. He stopped being the first to arrive and the last to leave. He trained others. He trusted the process he had once feared. Sophia noticed. "You're not here as much," she said one evening, not accusing, just observing. "I'm here differently," Rowan replied. "That's the goal," she nodded. "So it doesn't fall down if you're sick." "Exactly," he said. Marisol joined them, steadier now, her voice stronger. "I start a new shift next week," she said softly. "Earlier hours." "That's good," Rowan said. "It is," she agreed. "But we'll still come." Sophia smiled, not the old armor smile. A real one. It moved. Later, when the room quieted, Sophia handed Rowan a final drawing, a table drawn from above, every seat filled, no empty space, no one standing. At the bottom, in careful letters, she had written, "It's okay." But this time it wasn't a rule. It was a fact. "Will it still be here tomorrow?" she asked. "Yes," Rowan said. "And next week, yes. And when people stop paying attention." Rowan understood the question beneath the question. "I'll still be paying attention," he said, "even if I'm not in the room." She considered that, then nodded, accepting not blindly, but bravely. When Sophia and Marisol left, Rowan wiped the table down once more. Rings from bowls, pencil marks, proof of use, no plaque, no name, just a place that stayed. He turned off the lights and paused at the door, looking back. For the first time since this began, he wasn't afraid of the ending. Because this wasn't an ending. It was continuity. The table became ordinary. That was how Rowan knew it had worked. No one talked about it anymore, not in meetings, not in emails, not in careful hallway whispers. It stopped being an exception and started being a habit. Something people planned around. Something children mentioned casually, the way they talked about recess or homework or weather. "See you at the table replaced? Do you have anything to eat?" Rowan noticed the change the evening Sophia didn't look for him. She walked in ahead of her mother, backpack slung loosely over one shoulder, notebook tucked under her arm. She didn't hover near the doorway. She didn't scan the room first. She went straight to the middle seat. It was a small thing. It shouldn't have mattered. But it did. She spread her drawings across the table, explaining them to a younger child who had arrived with a neighbor. Her voice was calm, confident, patient. "This one's the room," she said, pointing. "And this is where people sit when they're tired." "Why are there so many chairs?" the child asked. "So nobody has to ask," Sophia replied easily. Rowan stood near the back of the room, unseen on purpose, and felt something tighten in his chest. This was what staying looked like. Not rescue, not transformation, normalization. Marisol arrived a few minutes later, moving more easily now. Her coat fit better. Her eyes didn't dart the way they used to. She greeted people by name, helped pour soup, laughed softly at something the custodian said. Rowan caught her eye. She nodded once. That was all they needed. Sophia noticed him then and waved, not urgently, not cautiously. Just a wave. He waved back. Later, when the room had thinned, Sophia gathered her drawings into a neat stack and slid one toward Rowan without speaking. He picked it up. It showed the table again, but this time from the side. People sat shoulder to shoulder, some talked, some didn't. One child leaned against an adult. No one was singled out. No one was alone. At the top, in careful letters, Sophia had written, "This is where it's normal." Rowan looked up. "May I keep this?" Sophia nodded. "That one's finished." He folded it carefully and placed it inside his coat pocket, the way one does with something important but fragile. "Do you still draw sandwiches?" he asked gently. Sophia thought about it. "No." "Why not?" She glanced at the table, at the bowls being cleared, at the chairs being stacked. "They're already here," she said. Rowan smiled. Not the polite one, the real one. A younger child tugged at Sophia's sleeve. "Why is this table here?" Sophia paused, considering the question seriously. So nobody has to pretend, she said. The child nodded, satisfied, and returned to their soup. Rowan turned away for a moment, giving himself privacy for the feeling that rose unexpectedly. It wasn't relief. It wasn't pride. It was peace. The board called again that week. The tone had changed. They spoke of balance now, of quiet alignment, of letting certain things exist because dismantling them would cost more than allowing them to remain. Rowan agreed to fewer appearances, fewer statements, more distance. That too was part of staying. One evening, as the last chairs were put away and the lights dimmed, Sophia lingered. She stacked chairs with deliberate care, making sure legs didn't scrape too loudly against the floor. "Will it still be here tomorrow?" she asked, not looking up. "Yes," Rowan said. "And next week, yes. And when people stop paying attention?" she asked. He understood what she was really asking. "I'll still be paying attention," he said, "even if I'm not the one in the room." Sophia nodded, accepting the answer the way children do when they decide to trust, not blindly, but bravely. Marisol waited by the door, watching them with eyes that had learned not to hope easily. "You don't owe us this," she said quietly when Sophia stepped away. "I know," Rowan replied. "That's why it matters." When they left, Rowan remained alone. He wiped the table down slowly. Soup rings, pencil marks, small scratches that proved use, not neglect. The table didn't shine. It didn't ask for recognition. It simply stayed. And for the first time since this story began, Rowan understood something with complete clarity. This wasn't about hunger anymore. It was about belonging. The rain came without drama. It tapped softly against the windows as the room emptied one chair at a time. Soup pots were rinsed, towels folded. The low hum of conversation faded into the ordinary sounds of a building settling for the night. Rowan stayed until the end. Not because anyone asked him to, not because he felt responsible. He stayed because the quiet after mattered as much as the gathering itself. Sophia had left earlier than usual, her mother's hand warm around her shoulder, a promise of tomorrow, in the way they walked out together. She hadn't looked back. That was new too. Rowan wiped the table slowly, tracing the familiar marks with a cloth damp from the sink. Rings left by bowls. A faint pencil line where someone had drawn without noticing. The surface bore evidence of use, proof that it had mattered to people who did not plan to remember it as something special. He liked that. His phone buzzed on the table. One message. "Board chair, we need a final answer." Rowan didn't pick it up right away. He finished wiping the table. He stacked the last chair. He turned off the overhead lights, leaving only the small lamp near the doorway on. The room looked smaller without people in it, but not empty. Finally, he picked up the phone. The board chair's voice came through, calm and controlled. "We can keep this quiet," he said. "But you'll need to step back completely. No association, no presence." Rowan leaned against the table, listening. "You'll still fund it," the chair continued. "Indirectly. Through the foundation. But you won't be the face, you won't be the reason it exists." Rowan smiled faintly. "That's already true," he said. A pause. "This path costs you," the chair said. "Influence. Comfort. Control." "I know," Rowan replied. "You don't get credit for staying," the chair added. "There's no upside." Rowan looked around the room, the table, the chairs, the faint smell of soup lingering in the air. "There is," he said. "Just not the kind you can list." Another pause. Longer this time. "Then this is your choice," the chair said. "Yes," Rowan replied. "It is." The call ended without ceremony. Rowan placed the phone face down and exhaled. For a moment he let himself feel it, the weight of the decision, the narrowing of certain doors, the quiet rearranging of a life that had once been measured by scale and applause. Then he felt something else. Relief. He locked up and stepped outside. The rain had eased, the street washed clean in that temporary way rain manages before the world returns to itself. The next afternoon, Rowan came by briefly. Not to stay, just to check in. Sophia was already there, seated at the middle of the table, her notebook open. She was explaining a drawing to a woman Rowan didn't recognize. "This one's the future," Sophia said, tapping the page. "But it looks the same." The woman smiled. "That's a good future." Sophia noticed Rowan then and stood. She walked over, confident and unhurried. "Are you leaving?" she asked. "Yes," Rowan said honestly. "Not forever, just differently." She nodded. "So it keeps working." "That's the idea," he said. She thought about it, then reached into her notebook and tore out a page. She folded it once and handed it to him. He opened it. A simple drawing, a table. One chair slightly pulled back as if someone had just stood up. At the bottom, in careful letters, she had written, "You can go. It will stay." Rowan swallowed. "Thank you," he said. Sophia smiled, not the armor smile, the real one. As Rowan walked away, he didn't feel like he was leaving something behind. He felt like he had put it where it belonged, and that he understood was the bill he was willing to pay. The last evening arrived without anyone naming it. There was no announcement, no sense of ending, just a familiar rhythm unfolding the way it always had. Chairs scraped softly against the floor. Soup steamed gently in the bowls. Conversation rose and fell in quiet waves. Sophia arrived with her mother just after dusk. Marisol looked stronger now. Not transformed, not untouched by hardship, but steadier. Her steps were more certain. Her shoulders no longer curved inward as if bracing for impact. She greeted people easily, laughing when someone mispronounced her name, accepting help without apology. Sophia went straight to the table. Not the edge, not the wall, the middle. She set her backpack on the floor beside her chair, not hugging it, not guarding it, just placing it where things belonged. She opened her notebook, then closed it again, deciding she didn't need it tonight. Rowan arrived later than usual, not to oversee, not to anchor, just to witness. He stood near the doorway unnoticed and watched the room breathe. This was the world he hadn't known how to build before, one that didn't revolve around him, one that didn't need his name attached to exist. It felt unfamiliar in the best possible way. Sophia saw him and didn't wave. She smiled, the kind of smile that moved. Later, when the room thinned and the night settled, Sophia lingered. She helped stack chairs with deliberate care, lining them up so no one would trip in the morning. Marisol waited by the door, speaking softly with a neighbor. Rowan approached, slowly stopping at a respectful distance. "You know," Sophia said, not looking up, "I used to think everything ended." Rowan stayed quiet. "I thought people always left," she continued. "Or things stopped, or rules changed." She stacked another chair. "But this didn't," she said. "No," Rowan agreed. "It didn't." Sophia turned to him, then serious in the way only children can be when they are deciding what they believe. "You didn't save us," she said. Rowan smiled gently. "I know. You didn't fix everything either. I know that too." She considered this, then nodded. "But you stayed long enough." "Yes," Rowan said. "Long enough for it to stop being about me." She smiled at that. Marisol approached, resting a hand on Sophia's shoulder. "We should go," she said softly. Sophia hesitated, then leaned forward and pressed her palm flat against the table. Rowan watched the gesture carefully. It wasn't gratitude, it was acknowledgement. "Will it still be here?" Sophia asked one last time. Rowan answered without hesitation. "Yes. Even if no one talks about it, yes. Even if people forget how it started." Rowan nodded. Especially then. Sophia seemed satisfied. She picked up her backpack and walked toward the door with her mother. Halfway there, she turned back. "You know what my favorite part is now?" she asked. What Rowan replied. that I don't have to remember rules anymore, she said. I can just be hungry when I'm hungry. And okay when I'm okay. Rowan felt something settle in his chest. That's a good rule, he said. She nodded once, then left. The room emptied. Rowan stayed behind as he always did at the end. He wiped the table carefully, tracing the familiar marks one last time. Rings from bowls, pencil lines faint but present. Signs of life lived honestly. He turned off the lights and paused at the doorway. The table didn't glow. It didn't demand attention. It didn't promise anything dramatic. It simply existed. Ready for tomorrow. Ready for whoever came next. As Rowan stepped into the night, he understood the truth that had taken him a lifetime to learn. This story had never been about hunger. It had been about visibility. About what happens when someone chooses not to look away, not once, not briefly, but long enough for a child to stop pretending. You cannot fix the whole world, but you can build one small place within it where no one has to hide their need, their fear, or their hope, and sometimes that is enough. Because the place stays, and so do the people who finally believe they belong there. Did this story move you? Share your thoughts in the comments and rate this story from 1 to 10. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you don't miss other heartwarming stories. Click on the last screen to see the next emotional chapter waiting for you. See you in the next story.